Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. August 26th, 2016. One of the top headlines was, as you see on the screen, top neocon, Trump's dangerous. This man showing grinning here is Paul Wolfowitz. He was a member of the George W. Bush presidential administration. Here's Bush looking lost in the headlights, as he so often did for 8 years. This man, Paul Wolfowitz, saying that somebody's dangerous is a comical statement. Paul Wolfowitz is truly one of the most dangerous people walking the planet as a free man. You're looking at the face of someone who was one of the chief planners of September 11th, 2001, and what took place that day. In this video, we're going to talk about the connections between Paul Wolfowitz and the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, and what they have to do with the major false flag September 11th, and the reason Paul Wolfowitz likely is voting for Hillary Clinton. These are both members of the Masonic, Zionist, One World Order, New World Order, Illuminati, as it's so often called. Paul Wolfowitz, Jewish, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where a lot of members of this Masonic Jewish cartel are from. Let's begin with a little gematria warm-up. If you're new here, I talk about gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, very important to the media. Trump's dangerous sums to 67, and this article is about him potentially voting for the first female president to be Hillary Clinton. The word female equals 67. International Women's Day is the 67th day of the year, March 8th. Time magazine wrote an article when Hillary was 67, how old she was when she announced her campaign, April 12th, 2015. They said Hillary's the perfect age to be president as a woman at age 67. Of course, now she's older, but Time emphasizing the significance of her age when her campaign began. Freemasonry also sums to 67. It's Freemasonry that does things by the numbers. We're talking about the Masons, the builders, building, all about measurement and numbers. This headline, Trump's dangerous, also sums to 211, which is the 47th prime number. President equals 47. Hillary born in the year 47. 67 also connects to George W. Bush, who's born July 6th, or 6/7. His birthday 67 days before September 11th, or a span of 68 days. We'll talk more about that. Notice Paul Wolfowitz's birth name, Paul Dundes Wolfowitz. We're going to begin with his initials, PDW, in relation to George W. Bush, the 43rd president, and both men having connections to Yale. George W. Bush grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, went to Yale just like his father, just like his grandfather. The initials PDW in gematria sum to 43, exactly like Yale. And again, George W. Bush, alumni from there, grew up in the town, 43rd president. His brother Jeb was the 43rd governor of Florida. Remember, that's how Bush became president. The final count went down to Florida, where they had all those weird shenanigans going on. And then lo and behold, George W. Bush becomes the president, as he guaranteed he would. Son of number 41, separated only by Bill Clinton from him and his father. This man's full name, Paul Dundes Wolfowitz, has gematria of 86, like symbol, like triangle, like pyramid. Republic equals 86, special number. His full name in simple English gematria, Paul equals 50 like America, like the 50 states, 67 like Freemasonry, 149 like Skull and Bones, Yale, the Masonic order at Skull and Bones that George W. Bush was a member of, Paul Wolfowitz possibly. Paul Dundes Wolfowitz sums to 266 the big way. That number showed up last year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. He visited Obama on the 266th day of the year. A lot of interesting things to that visit on September 23rd, 2015. The day Paul Wolfowitz was born is very relevant to September 11th, which we'll get to in a bigger way, but this is just the beginning of it. It's a date with 96 numerology. The word Freemason equals 96. When you add the ranging degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, 31 plus 32 plus 33, it sums to 96. A life lesson number of 51, conspiracy 51, federal 51, Freemason 51. Think about Area 51. Also a date with 77 numerology, and September 11th was Paul Wolfowitz's big day. This is the man who penned the document saying the United States needed a new Pearl Harbor. The group was called the Project for a New American Century, and September 11th happened on New Year's Day of the new century on the Coptic calendar, the Old World Christian calendar. He wrote this document, Project for a New American Century, calling for a new Pearl Harbor to start wars, to change the domestic agenda, and it came true on New Year's Day of the new century, September 11th, Coptic calendar. September 11th in Gematria, sums to 77. Look at what year Paul Wolfowitz began working at the Pentagon. 1977, during the Carter administration, a Democrat, and then also a member of George W. Bush, a Republican. Further proof that there really is no difference in any of these parties. They're all just puppets. Divide and conquer by the numbers. With regards to 77 and his career starting at the Pentagon that year, on September 11th, Flight 77 hit the Pentagon, which was 77 feet tall, on the 77th meridian, known as the American meridian. And look at this. The flight took off at 8:20. If I can make this bigger here. The flight took off at 8:20. It crashed into the building at 9:37, which is exactly 77 minutes later. Flight 77 hits the 77-foot-tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian, 77 minutes after taking off on September 11th, which in words has gematria of 77. Judaism equals 77. Again, Paul Wolfowitz, Jewish. It was the Jewish Zionists who executed September 11th. It's been the Jewish Zionists who've always been running this nation by the numbers. It's why Washington, D.C. is on the 38th parallel, the 77th meridian. Very fitting for a Jewish nation. You learn about the true history of the U.S. You learn the Jewish people have had a lot of influence. Also, September 11th in New York, that took place on the 74th meridian. Speaking of Jewish, look, Jewish equals 74, Masonic 74, Occult 74, Holiday 74, Independence Day 74, English 74, Gematria 74, Alphabetic Order 74. Gematria is a Jewish practice. It began with the Hebrew alphabet. Think about it. So here's where it gets good, Truth Seeker. From September 11th, 2001 to Paul Wolfowitz's 58th birthday, he turned 58 December 22nd, 2001, was 102 days. The 3 months and 11 days is also interesting. March 11th is the date that the World Trade Center project was approved, 3/11. 14 weeks and 4 days is interesting. That's the number for time, number for destruction, number connected to April 4th, as well as 44. The World Trade Centers opened April 4th, 1973. If you write out 44, if you write out April 4th, they both sum to 144. But the number that really pops is 102 in regards to September 11th. 102 days before his 58th birthday. Let me remind you, George W. Bush equals 58, Freemasonry 58, Secret Society 58, calendar equals 58, Gregorian equals 58. The Freemasons have built this world around us. The language, the calendar. It's said that September 11th, the attack lasted 102 minutes, or an hour and 42. The word terrorist equals 142. With regards to 102, September 11th, 102 days before Paul Wolfowitz's birthday, United States of America equals 102, Al-Qaeda equals 102, Key of David equals 102, which is written about in the book of Revelation, the book of prophecy. It is written about in regards to the Church of Philadelphia, the name of the original capital of this nation, in regards to the false Jews who will rule in the end times. All of these things come together. FBI chief investigators, gematria of 102. What the FBI is really used for is to dupe the American people and to create this propaganda by the numbers, largely. Everything about the FBI from the beginning has been by the numbers. In our nation's history, the Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th, 1861. Lincoln was assassinated on a date with 102 numerology. April 15th, 1865, 4 plus 15 is 19, plus 18 is 37, plus 65 more is 102. Day Lincoln died. The man who saved the Union, saved the United States of America, the 102. Hillary Clinton began her campaign. I didn't mean to write caucus, that's a typo. Began her campaign on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th, and right away after she started her campaign, or not long after, there was this story about this woman at age 102 caucusing for her. That story came out on February 2nd, the 33rd day of the year. So, think about this. 93 World Trade Center bombing. That happened when Bill Clinton was in office. Happened February 26th, 1993. If you write out 226 as a word, it sums to 93, like the year of the attack. The word planet has gematria of 226. The word Saturn has gematria of 93. Special numbers 226 and 93. I predicted that Tim Kaine would be Hillary's vice president before it was announced because Tim Kaine had a February 26th birthday, and this number is also connected to her. But anyhow, this is where it all comes together. Paul Wolfowitz, the Clintons, the New World Order agenda, the World Trade Centers. Whoever the next president is, I'm pretty sure it'll be Hillary. Just watch. There will be a major false flag not long after they take office. This is just status quo. New administration, then comes a big disaster to shape the administration around. It's the same thing again and again in history. Look at this. False flag equals 33, Clinton 33, order 33, federal 33, secrecy 33, masonry 33. The World Trade Centers were open for 33 years. The World Trade Centers existed for 33 years, 1968 to 2001. They were open for 28 years, April 4th, 1973, until the day they fell. They were open on the 5-year anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. The only two numbers when written out that sum to 156 are 33 and 28. The construction firm that built the World Trade Centers, Magnuson Klemenkic Associates, their name equals 156. False flag equals 156 in Jewish gematria. Again, 33 equals 156. False flag equals 33. You see how all these numbers come together? In 1968, 33 years before September 11th, all of this happened. George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones. Again, Yale 43. He's the 43rd president. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code that year. World Trade Center construction began. Space Odyssey 2001 came out. 33 years later, 911 would happen. You know, bringing all these things together. And look, 911's the 156th prime number. Again, 33 connects to 156. 156 connects to 911. I knew right away on September 11th, without having any understanding of numerology, that what was being presented to us was a lie, a deception, agenda, and it was so obvious because they did it on the date 911, our national emergency dialing code. And I didn't have a clue about the rest of this, but it was just so obvious we were being duped. I mean, look at what kind of nation we were living in. George W. Bush was the president. I was just barely 18 years old, and I knew that wasn't to be taken seriously. I've been wondering where my fellow countrymen are at for all of my adult life. The alumni of Skull and Bones are known as Bonesmen, gematria of 33, just like Masonry, like secrecy. It's a secret society. In 2004, when George W. Bush ran for president, he ran against John Kerry, who was also a member of the same secret society. The day George Bush was born, July 6, 1946, a date with 33 numerology. Think about how he was just in Dallas after the 7/7 shooting of the Dallas police. Police officer equals 77. Police department equals 77. The 7/7 shooting in Dallas was the worst loss of life for a police department since September 11th. September 11th equals 77. With regards to 33, special number to the Freemasons. In numerology, it's the master teacher number. The word teacher equals 33. And with all of these stories, with all of this propaganda, with all of this programming, they are teaching us to accept coincidence, to accept bullshit, to go along with lies, to go along with agenda. And it's all done by the Zionists, who've done all these things over the years. Massive lies by the numbers. The Holocaust is one of their lies. The world wars were created to start or create the Zionist state of Israel. If you read about the beginning of World War I, it was really about creating Israel. It's how the United States got involved. We're living out an agenda. Holocaust equals 33, Zyklon B equals 33, Berlin equals 33, Nazis equals 33, Hitler and the Nazis came to power in 33. Zyklon B is the chemical blamed for gassing millions of Jews, which never happened. It's complete fiction. If you're not aware, on September 11th, Mossad agents were in New Jersey filming the attack. They were sent back to Israel. They said they were here to document the event, meaning Israel, the Zionist state, had foreknowledge of September 11th. That was aired on CBS 60 Minutes just months after the attack, that news. And part of the reason they do that to us, the Zionist media, is just to mock us. Because they know the American people are not paying attention. They're just going along. They're just nodding their heads. They're just following bullshit. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop in a very bad way. Sorry, I got a mosquito buzzing around me. Here he is, personal history. Born second child of Jacob Wolfowitz, 1910 to 1981. In Lillian Dundee's. Paul Wolfowitz was born in Brooklyn, New York, into a Polish-Jewish immigration family and grew up mainly in Ithaca, New York, where his father was a professor of statistical theory at Cornell University. You know, one of my oldest videos is how all these elite schools are where these gang members in this Masonic Zionist mafia reside. You know, the Ivy League schools are here to destroy the masses. We, the masses, should wake up and destroy these Ivy League schools, truly. Or maybe not destroy them, but just, take them over. Because I'm telling you, the people there right now, they're the people selling us out. They're the Paul Wolfowitzes of the world. We, the people, we're way too passive to what's being done to us. I'm normally a peaceful person, but that mosquito, it was too much. I had to take care of it. And by the way, True Seeker, this isn't a joke. Mosquito has the same gematria as vampire. They both sum to 39, just like the word Vlad. Vlad the Impaler, Vlad equals 39. 39 is the number of books in the Old Testament. That's who the Jewish faith goes by. And that's the same people who've always ruled this nation from the beginning. The Bill of Rights, there's 10 of them. 10 commandments in the 39 books of the Old Testament. If you write out 10 as a word, it sums to 39. The Bill of Rights were first proposed on a date with 39 numerology as 39 amendments by James Madison. Madison equals 39. And, just another point about 33, the Zionist flag of Israel, Seal of Solomon, Star of David, it's two three-sided figures. It represents as above, so below, gematria of 156. Again, number important to September 11th. February 2nd, the 33rd day of the year, gematria of 156. Again, that Hillary Clinton story with the 102-year-old caucuser from the 33rd day of the year. Israel, with regards to 33, was approved as a nation November 29th, 1947 by a 33-member vote from the United Nations on the 333rd day of the year. And the United Nations in New York is 39 floors tall. New York equals 39. Empire equals 39. NY equals 39. New York State of Establishment's 39. All hallmarks of the Jewish cartel that really runs this nation and has from the beginning. That's why September 11th happened there. Masonic equals 223, the reflection of 322, the number of skull and bones. Brooklyn, New York, 223. The Synagogue of Satan, the name for the false Jews to rule in the end times, 223. The Star-Spangled Banner, 223. Remember in the 2012 Summer Games, the Star-Spangled Banner was playing when Serena Williams was getting the gold medal. It fell off as the lyrics would be sung, but our flag was still there. This year in 2016, in the Summer Games, she lost on the 223rd day of the year, surprising the world. Major upset. Masonic also sums to 74 World Trade Centers on the 74th meridian. It's all by the numbers, and all the power players, they are coded into the attack themselves. All of these people need to be held accountable. These people thought that they were smarter than the masses. They never thought someone like me would come along who would really out them and bring the tangible evidence for what's been done and how it's been done. Paul Wolfowitz, this guy shouldn't have been breathing the air of the earth the day after September 11th. He's been breathing it for almost going on. How many years has it been now? You know, here we are in 2016, coming up on the 15-year anniversary. Think about all that's been done in this nation in the name of September 11th. Wars, aggression, downsizing, programs, education to allocate more money for war. These people have put us on a worse path, all of humanity, with a terrible lie for a Zionist Jewish agenda. When does it end, huh? When do we find the courage to stand up and confront these people and put them out of business forever? You got Donald Rumsfeld in the background. Remember when he was telling you where he knew where the weapons were? They're in the areas of north, south, east, west. That's why Paul Wolfowitz is smirking. Somebody needs to wipe that smirk off his face. Until next time, truth seekers.